The FCC is back at it again, and this time they're after a CB radio operator in Tennessee for running too much power with, what do you know, an Ameritron amplifier. Okay, so I found this story, and I started Googling, and the best, I've actually seen this story on a couple of different websites. One that has the best description, Natcom Magazine, which is a paid service. You can go to natcommag.com and subscribe. They have a lot of really good radio-related news articles about CB, ham radio, GMRS, the whole 9 yards. The FCC is going after their Tennessee Citizens Band radio operator, apparently for using excessive power, using a 10-meter radio modified to transmit on CB channels and allegedly causing interference. Now, and we're going to talk about this Striker radio this guy's using here in just a minute. Sometimes I will get people commenting on my videos, or I will get emails from people, and they'll be like, hey, I just picked up this ham radio. It does this, this, and this, and this, and come to find out later, it's one of these Striker CBs, or one of these Ranger, the RCI 2950, 2970, or maybe one of the older Galaxy model 10-meter export radios, as they call them. I have mixed feelings about those. Number one, they are not a ham radio. They're a 10-meter radio that does more power than is legal on 11 meters, and the reason those companies are selling those inside of the USA is as 10-meter export radios is so that CBers will buy them, modify them, and use them. You know what? It's not legal to do that. You're going to do that? More power to you. That's on you, bud. I do not care. I really don't. I will not go so far as to say that I've never done that myself, although I have never, it's been more than 20 years since I've done anything like that. But they are not a ham radio. They are meant to be a CB. And yeah, a lot of these radios have a larger range of frequencies they'll go to that will include 10 and 12 meters. And guess what? Since in Part 97, there's no such thing as a type-accepted Part 97 radio if you're a private ham radio operator. If you're a company manufacturing radios, it's a little bit different. So we as ham radio operators at Part 97 have an experimenter's license. You can build a radio in your garage and use it on the air as long as you're not manufacturing this radio. So I actually want to take one of these radios out to a POTA one time and see what we can do on 10 meters with it. More to come on that later. But if you are into manufacturing, you are into like building your own stuff, I highly recommend PCBWay.com. PCBWay.com does professional CNC printing, professional 3D printing. They'll do board design. They'll let you design your own boards. They are a sponsor of this video, and they have a lot of different things that you can get on their website. Order from the website, get your custom ideas come to life, get it done professionally grade, and sent to you. Thank you, PCBWay.com, for supporting this channel. You guys check the links in the description below at the end of this video. So the FCC's Region 2 Enforcement Bureau office in Powder Springs, Georgia, issued a notice of unlicensed operation letter on Thursday, August 31st. This was just a couple months ago at the time of this recording, to Thomas Warmouth of Collegedale, Tennessee. Its letter sent to Warmouth. The FCC was acting in compliance and interference with residential electronics devices. So here's the letter that the FCC did. This is actually the first thing I found, and when I started Googling for this, I found a couple of different websites this was on, and Natcom Mag did the best job of describing it, in my opinion. Agents from the Atlanta office confirmed by direction-finding techniques that radio signals on frequency 27.225 megahertz were emanating from your residence in Collegedale, Tennessee. This is a letter they wrote to this Mr. Warmouth guy. Agents confirm through investigation that your radio station is operating in a manner that is inconsistent with rules that are applicable to CB radio stations. Therefore, your radio station operator is operating without authorization. Radio stations operating on certain frequencies, including CB radio, which is 26.965 megahertz to 27.405. 26.965 is channel 1. 27.405 is channel 40. And in those, you can operate on certain frequencies. In those, it's channelized, so you can't actually go anywhere. Well, you can go anywhere in between theirs and operate sideband kind of in between frequencies, but if you're operating AM, it's supposed to be on those specific 40 channels. And they don't go in order. It's kind of a weird thing. Maybe I'll do another video on that later. CB radio band must be licensed by the Commission pursuant to Section 301 of the Communications Act of 1934. An amended act, Section 95.305, Commission's rules authorizes eligible persons to operate Part 95 CB personal radio service without individual license. You are hereby warned that operation of non-approved radio transmitting equipment as well as operating without a valid radio station authorization. You don't need a license to operate CB, so I'm not sure what that means. Constitutes a violation of federal laws and rules cited above and could subject the operator to severe penalties, including but not limited to substantial monetary fines, in rem, that's Latin. I don't know what in rem means. Seizure and perhaps and also seizure of the offending radio equipment and criminal sanctions, including imprisonment. Okay. And then here, you have 10 days from this date of notice to respond. Signed Debbie Roy-Biskey, Regional Director, Region 2, Enforcement Bureau, FCC. There you go. I'll put a link to this in the description below. So they're saying that, Part 95 is the CB radio ban. Part 95.301 is what they're quoting here. And Part 95, a couple other pieces of Part 95, 9.35 and 967. Part 95 is the CB radio ban. It covers more than just CB radio, but these specific sections are applicable to CB radio. So in other words, you don't have to have a license to operate CB, but you have to have a licensed CB. So in other words, according to the regulations, okay, sometimes I've called it a laws in past, and people come by, it's not a law, it's a rule. I'm okay. Semantics, whatever you want to call it, okay? According to the regulations, you don't need a license to operate CB in the United States anymore. They used to require a license years ago, but not anymore. But you need an authorized and licensed radio, something that has been approved by the FCC to eliminate or to reduce spurious emissions. Like it or not, that's the regulation, that's the rule. I'm not saying I do or don't agree with it. I think part of it's kind of stupid. But you know what? They didn't call me and ask me. So I'm just telling you what it says. You make your own decision about that thing. Here's a response. Wait a second. You may say that persons who use CB don't need a license or authorization to do so. So how to FCC? Here's the kicker. Persons using CB radios are licensed by the rule, Part 95 FCC, which is the governance piece of CB regulations. While you don't need a CB license anymore, the mere fact that you fire up a 4-watt CB radio and talking there, you're licensed on a licensed free spectrum to use CB's 40 channels as long as you follow the rules on Part 95, which is basically what I just said. This is the best part right here, okay? So this is a screenshot of this guy's Twitter account. Facebook account. I thought that was Twitter. It's Facebook. This is a Thomas Warfile's profile photo posted on Facebook. And this is the radio he was using. It's a Stryker SR955 HP. HP usually means high power. Wonder how much power that is. Now, if I wanted to use that on POTA for 10 meters, my license allows me to use that. Within the 10-meter amateur radio band, Part 97 allows me to use experimental radio equipment. So it would be totally legal for me or for you as a licensed amateur radio operator, even with a technician license, if you stay between 28.3 and 28.5, it'd be completely legal to use this on amateur radio bands, as long as it's not pumping out over 1,500 watts. This is probably I don't know, what is this? Stryker 955 HP. Okay, according to Walcott Radio at this site right here, this is a $350 radio, 75 watts PEP via bird meter, 45 watts AMS. CB is legal 4 watts on key down. Again, most CB is AM. You can do sideband and now FM on CB as well. 4 watts is the key down. So in other words, on AM, when you key down the mic, you can't produce more than 4 watts. When you talk into the mic, it modulates the signal. It'll do more than 4 watts, and that's legal. And I don't know if there's a legal limit on peak envelope power PEP or not. I'd have to look that up. But 4 watts is the legal limit on key down. So this one's doing 75 watts PEP. It's not really saying what 45 watts RMS. I forget what RMS stands for. That might mean that it's 45 watts on key down and 75 watts on PEP. But again, Walcott Radio is selling this as a 10-meter radio, and that level of power is completely acceptable within the amateur radio spectrum of the 10-meter band. Might be fun to try one of these on a POTA activation. I would really like that. May have one. I don't have a Stryker radio, but I do have an old Galaxy radio. Something to think about. But this is really good right here. Okay. Now, Mr. Warmouth, if you happen upon this video, I don't mean this by an insult, but my God, English, bud. Okay, look at this. Well, I had a ham operator turn me into the popo. Okay, I know a lot of you guys in the comments love to blame ham radio operators for all this stuff. Okay, let's say that's true. How would a ham radio operator know he was running that much power? Is it possible he was interfering with something? Your TV set, your computer speakers, some sort of AM receiver in your house, car stereo in your car, AM, FM car stereo in your car, something? I mean, how would they know? If this guy had properly grounded and RFI choked his equipment, it's possible that they would have never heard him. But I don't know. So he says, I had a ham radio operator turn me into the popo, said my Ameritron A-Lab was coming across his guitar speaker. That's where I read it. Coming across his guitar speaker. Okay, so how do you know it's a ham radio operator? Maybe it was. I'm not saying it was or wasn't. Okay, but someone turned him in for coming across his guitar speaker. The Ameritron amp, which is a ham radio amplifier, is not legal on CB. So there you go. The police showed up with a couple other gentlemen showed up and said that they were FCC, but they did not say they were the FCC and wants me to shut down. I said, I'll put my amp out of line, but I will not quit transmitting on my radio. They also told me that my radio is illegal because it's the Stryker 955. So basically, I'm getting harassed. What else can I do about this? Wow. No punctuation, no commas, no periods, all lowercase. My first, what can I do about this? That's his last statement. His last words was, what can I do about this? Learn English? That's my first suggestion. I would learn English. I would absolutely 100% learn English, and then maybe you'd have a better time of actually getting stuff across. But wow, I know people type on Facebook, they type on comments on YouTube, they type this way. People type this way. Okay, all right. I don't mean people call me a grammar Nazi. Okay. You know what? It's just that if you want to be taken seriously, you might try to type in a manner that proves that you graduated the 3rd grade. That's my personal opinion. You may not agree with me. That's what I think. So he claims a ham radio operator turned him in. Perhaps that's true. Perhaps it's not true. I don't know. So what do you guys think about this? An Ameritron amp on a Stryker 10-meter, made for 10-meter export radio that, again, not really a ham radio. If you ask any ham radio operator if that's a ham radio, they will tell you no. It's not a ham radio. It is sold by Stryker as an export radio for 10 meters that's meant to be modified and used on the 11-meter band to get around the FCC requirements. More power to you, buddy. Capitalism. You gotta love it. Gotta love I do. I love capitalism. I absolutely love capitalism. I think some of the rules and regulations around CB radio were dumb. I think some of the rules and regulations around GMRS radio are dumb. I think if I have a license to operate on those bands, I should be able to use any radio I want to. I don't think the Part 95 rules are very good. Now, does that mean I'm going to just go break the rules just because I don't agree with them? No, I'm not going to do that. But there's ways to get rules and regulations changed in this country, and ignoring them is not one of those ways. But, again, my opinion, I'm not telling you what to do, but I would like to know what you think about this article. Put a comment below.